I feel like the hip hop game is in a very interesting place right now because the industry has been kind of quiet and there's no one really taking the reign and, claiming that spot at the top of the throne of hip hop. But we're going to talk about our top 5 current artists in the game right now. And we're going to exclude everybody who hasn't dropped prior to 2020. So they had to have dropped an album in 2020 or 2021. Guys, you know the drill. A new episode is out. And let us know in the comments who your top 5 artists are right now. And this is an interesting conversation because by excluding people that have dropped before 2020, you have no Drake, you have no Kendrick, you have no J.Cole. This is more of an underground type of feel to it and people that are kind of on the come up and part of that new generation, right?
Yeah, and I like the sort of parameters we set for ourselves. So, we can't choose anyone obviously before 2020 that has dropped. And then we spoke about the Drake situation, but Dark Lane Demo Tapes was more of a compilation more than anything. It wasn't a full studio album, so we decided to include him. You could have included someone like Jid here, but it was like more of a Revenge of the Dreamer, so we said no. Kevin Abstract maybe could have made an appearance, but he's more in a group of Brockhampton. So we were very selective on who we chose, and I think we also told ourselves that we also have to consider maybe commercial success in this to some degree, because I feel as if it's such a big sort of statistics now that people look at, especially with first week sales. What are people doing? Like how are they moving?
Yeah, I feel like it's a mix of like our favorite artists, like our current top 5, mixed in with who's kind of taking over or the way that it's looking like right now. And 2021 has been quiet. Now we're getting words that certain camps are deciding to drop, so that shit's heating up. But out of 2020 and 2021, what are some of your favorite albums that have dropped? Last 2 years.
I'll go Alfredo. I'll go No Pressure. I'll go As God Intended. I'll go Burden of Proof. I'll go
New Brockhampton album? How's that sitting with you?
It's good, but not as nice as I thought it would.
Oh, really? You switched up on it, man?
No, I still enjoy it. I still hold it to the stature. I've been diving into so many different albums lately that
kind of losing that place in your rotation.
Yeah, but it's definitely still up there. I think Mac Miller's Circles is definitely up there. How about you? What else do you got? Because there was a lot of different shit that dropped last year, and you can even talk about Griselda as a whole and how they had ran last year.
Yeah, definitely Burden of Proof is still in my rotation. From King to a God is in there. As God Intended, No Pressure, RTJ4 is in my rotation still. Out of this year, Brockhampton sticking with me. Conway the Machine's La Machina sticking with me.
Fantastic project.
Apart from that, though, for 2021, nothing crazy. But, I mean, we're getting some announcements now. People are heating up. We're probably going to get some Polo G soon. We're probably going to get, someone from TDE.
DJ Khaled probably already dropped an album by the time this came out.
Yeah.
So it's cool. And it's cool to see where the industry's at. But, okay, how do you want to do this? Because we didn't decide to make a one full list as we usually do with our lists.
We decided to take a more personal route and kind of have our own top 5s to this. But we're bound to have artists that are kind of, on the same list. So let's start off with you. What's your number 5 spot?
My number 5, I put Polo G.
Polo G? Okay, nice. Okay,
because, when we were texting each other and we were like, okay, how the fuck do we do these lists? Because it could have been sheerly, our own favorite artists, and then, not taking into consideration what other people fuck with and putting them into our list, because does have to be educated a bit. But when I was deciding on Polo G, it was more, I understood the type of quality he's putting up right now mixed with his commercial success. And one thing I really fuck with about him is, and I mentioned this in the past video, is that he has 2 platinum projects right now under the age of 25. And Die Legend and The GOAT were solid efforts from him. You saw him come out of, Die Legend with, Pop Out, and then after that you got The GOAT, which has one of my favorite Polo G songs in 21. And, it's cool to see where he's at now, because I don't like when people say that he uses too much of the same flow, because the guy only has 2 projects to his name and he's very calculated with his drops. So how could you even say that he's been overusing his music? The only gripe I feel like is actually valid with him is that his stuff isn't mixed and engineered properly, and
even his beat selection hasn't been the best.
Yeah, it hasn't been the best, but that's the thing though, is that I like him because it's pure substance. It's pure, people fuck with him for him, and they have, his fan base have a personal connection with it, and that's something that I could feel through the music, and put that modern twist on it. And the fact that he's probably one of the biggest stars out of Chicago right now, fuck it. He deserves to be there and in that lane. But how about you? What do you got at number 5?
Yeah, I feel like, just going back to Polo G, I feel like the way that he's rolling out this album is genius by, making it be over the stretch of a couple of singles, plus the remixes he dropped and all that. And I just love how much passion he puts, to the mic. And it's really coming full circle for him now. I feel like, he just got the number 1 song. I feel like the album's going to go crazy. I hope he brings in that mix of sounds that he has. If it's either the drill sound, the melodic rapping, and also kind of that trap conscious side to him, which
like a ghetto gospel sort of vibe.
he's one of the only guys doing right now. So I admire him for that. At my number 5, though, I have Lil Baby.
Okay.
Where does he fit into your list?
Okay.
Because we're just going to talk about him now. At this point, we're not going to talk about him twice.
I want to save it for a surprise, though. I want to save it for a surprise, but we could talk about him now. Lil Baby's very interesting. Very, very, very interesting because as far as commercial success goes, I had a statistic that I had written down about the Paul McCartney thing.
Yeah, so he had tied Paul McCartney and Prince's record for having the most entries ever in the Billboard Hot 100 with 47 entries. And I mean, the guy's only been popping off for maybe a bit less than 5 years now. So to achieve that and to be, the first to do it in the hip hop genre is pretty fucking incredible. And I just love his energy on every track that he brings.
That's true.
He's never slacking on any verse. He's always, very fast paced with his flow.
Also, the way he opens up his verses is super incredible. That's a super underrated Lil Baby gift. Like, you go into a Lil Baby song and I'm like, fuck, what's going to be the first line of this verse? And then boom, hits you. And then it kind of takes you down a rabbit hole with him. And like, I love what you said about him kind of shooting that quick information at you because it's not the most complicated like punchlines or rhyme schemes, but it's so cool the way he delivers it. And I also enjoy the fact that like I thought ATL hip hop after Migos was gonna have a bit of a dip off, but to be honest with you, like Lil Baby's been able to take this whole ATL scene and like really keep carrying it and carry that torch. So that's what I fuck with about it right now.
Honestly, as of right now, I feel like he's the face of QC. I mean, based on like relevancy, who's popping the most right now, he's kind of, gone beyond the Migos as it stands right now. We'll have to see what they both release.
But talk to me about My Turn, though.
My Turn was a great album. I mean, it ran, I think it was 19 songs, and production was wild. You had some of Lil Baby's best collaborations yet with the Lil Wayne feature. And I just love the fact that he rolled out his deluxe in a smart way for that album too, where he only put on like 6 songs, and 2 of them were huge songs. You had We Paid with 42 Doug, which was one of his best collabs to date, and then you had The Bigger Picture, which felt really genuine to me. It felt like Lil Baby wasn't putting out a song like that was kind of a protest song to ride a trend, but rather it was him speaking kind of on his own personal altercations with the police and him feeling like because of the platform that he's built up to this point, fuck it, let me make, a conscious song that speaks to all the bullshit that's going on right now. And that's what he did. And, he turned the song like that into a banger.
And how do you compare that to, let's say, his other projects like Harder Than Ever or Harder Than Hard, where, there was some really certified Lil Baby classics in there. And I mean, that's what we came up listening to, especially with, the 2017 and on. Like, that's when I think we first started getting a bit of a taste of Lil Baby. So do you remember the first time you ever like really got that distinct flow, or like the first time that you were ever introduced to that style?
I feel like the first time I heard him was on Yes Indeed.
Yeah.
I feel like that was my introduction to him, as it was to probably a lot of people. And that's another thing too, is that everybody's fucking with Lil Baby. I mean, if YMCMB was still a thing, I feel like they would actually like put him on the squad.
No, definitely.
I think Kanye West and Lil Wayne have both cited him as their favorite rapper right now. So he's getting that major fucking, cosign from some of the biggest artists to do it. And I just feel like nobody's putting their all into the music like Lil Baby is. And I feel like we've seen his growth project after project. And with My Turn, it just came to a complete kind of evolution for him.
Yeah, and you see how he gets better as a rapper. That's what's impressive about him too, is that, we often talk about how artists get lazy on their verses, where they don't want to deliver a feature or they want to deliver this, but it's never the case with Lil Baby. And that's why I think we all have to pay him respect, is because of the commercial success, but not only that, but the type of quality he's been putting out, with the consistency. Yeah, okay, fuck it. We got two hot artists out of the way at number 5.
Who do you got at number 4 now?
This was tough because I was debating between a couple of different people, but this is actually where I'm gonna put Conway the Machine.
Okay,
this is where
I have him higher on my list. Full disclaimer, there, he's higher up for me.
Yeah, I had him originally when I was drawing on my list. I had him at number 2, and it was like between a 2 and a 4. Like that's where I was playing with both of the guys I have on this list. So Conway ended up getting the 4, and if I can make the take right now that he is the best pure lyricist in hip hop right now out of any of the active rappers, I could say that. Where I think maybe his quality on projects are not I wouldn't say lacking, but don't necessarily stand up to the stature of another guy I have on this list, or maybe even West Side Gun. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like, he really makes it up with his skill and capability, and that's what I liked about La Máquina, and was just it felt different. It felt like, he was taking such a modern twist to his music, and that he was going to be able to, still work with producers like Murda Beats. Like, I never thought that would have happened, and it would have sounded fucking good. And then, you get something like 630 Tip Off with, like, a Bangladesh beat, and you're like, whoa, there's such a difference in production styles here. Like, I'm used to hearing like fucking Derringer and shit. So it was cool to see where he was at with that sort of stuff. But I mean, as far as the lyricist goes, do you think that he's gonna have the capability of maybe going down as, like, one of the great lyricists?
I definitely think so, just because, I mean, he's been consistent project after project. I do agree with you that, he doesn't have the best discography out of the 3 Griselda members. To me, that goes to Benny the Butcher. But I mean, if you look at 2020, I mean, he put out, I think, like 3 projects. You had Lulu in there. You had From King to a God. You had, what was the other one? The one with Big Ghost LTD.
Let me check this up right now. Yeah, I have to be. I looked at all of his shit today. I went through all of his discography, but
yeah. But anyways, and this year he comes out with If It Bleeds, It Can Be Killed, and La Máquina, and he's just going on a crazy tear, and he's not even done. He has his Shady debut album coming out in the summertime, and what I love about Conway is that he'll never drop a whack verse, and he has that perfect underdog story of where, he was shot in the back of the head and the neck, and
face paralysis. He has face paralysis.
Yeah, man.
He's paralyzed on one side of his face.
He has Bell's palsy, man. And what's crazy is that, like, he could have taken that incident and said, you know what, fuck it, I'm down bad right now. Apparently, he even had trouble speaking, but he turned that negative into a positive, and made a full career out of it, and now he's being seen as one of the best lyricists in the game. I mean, his punchlines are on par. He brings in these sports references, and I mean, like you were saying earlier on La Máquina, he's showing that he can rap on any beat. He can rap on those dusty, grimy Derringer beats like we've seen on something like Reject 2, or he can rap on a Murda Beats beat on a song like KD. Mm-hmm. He can rap on any type of production, and I just feel like, like Conway said himself, out of the Griselda members, he's the silliest with the bars.
That is true. And by the way, the 2020 release was No One Mourns the Wicked.
No One Mourns the Wicked, yes.
Dead Flowers and Icon is fire. Those are 2 fantastic songs. But that's why I have him in my number 4. Like, how isn't this guy in the top 5? And, like, to be honest with you, my top 5 lists are always interchangeable at any time. I think that's another part that people have to understand, except for my number 1. My number 1's fucking solidified. But
he also has his own label that he's starting up called Drumwork.
I heard about that, but I didn't know who he was signing.
Yeah, so you have Jay Skis, who was heavily on the album.
Yeah.
And then you have someone else by the name of 7XV The Genius, who I think also had 1 feature on La Máquina. But yeah, 2 lesser known guys, but I love to see him kind of building into that, that mogul personality and taking good use of his platform. And does that mean he's separating from Griselda? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I mean, Conway deserves it.
But I get the vibe that they all are, though.
Yeah, they're all going their own ways.
I get the vibe that they all are, though, because think about it. They have all kinds of like, now it's no longer about being a fan of Griselda. It's like being a fan of each and every single one of the rappers, and, like, being invested into their music. And regardless of the style that you fuck with, you have to admit that all of them are on par with music quality.
Also, how many guys could you say can, go bar for bar with Method Man like he did on Lemon and not get washed?
No one.
You know what I mean?
No one. No one.
It's fucking crazy, man.
He also brings back this cool fucking 90s aesthetic and makes it sound new again. Like, that's what's nuts about it, is, like, it's not even supposed to be released at this time. And, like, what I could actually compare it to, if I'm being honest, like, obviously it's not the type of the type of, I wouldn't say aesthetic that they were doing back then, but, like, old Obi Trice and shit, like that's what I feel as if the collective is. Yeah, like, that's where I feel as if, like, they have their place right now, like, especially that, they're kind of carrying that torch for Shady Aftermath, and, like, that's awesome to fucking see. So I mean,
I just hope there's more evolution within his projects. I feel like,
But this one was impressive, though.
It was impressive.
This one was impressive. I mean, it was completely different than anything he had put out. And once you go through the track list, you're kind of like, okay, where does he go from here? Like, now it's okay. Now there's a whole different landscape for him to attack. Not only that, but, like, I want him to start getting the productions from Hit Boy and shit. Like I want to see some fucking collaborations with Hit Boy.
I think he has a couple Hit Boy beats, but not many.
But I want to see a full collaboration album like Benny got.
Yeah.
Imagine that sort of project, especially after hearing him rap on La Máquina. It's all victory laps. Put that on Hit Boy production, it's gonna fucking slap. And we already know how Griselda works so well with Hit Boy, but that's just why I have so much appreciation for him. He's doing stuff that's fucking different. And I'm only 20 years old, so I've only been able to hear a bit of it, but just to be able to hear that sort of hip hop being released in my time is super fucking refreshing.
And Conway's 39 years old, and it feels like he's just getting fucking started. So he's someone to watch out for.
What do you got at your 4 though?
At my 4, I have Denzel Curry. And by the way, guys, he's probably my favorite rapper out of anyone on this list, but this whole list can kind of be, replaced from number to number. But I have Denzel Curry because, he's only 25 years old.
These are more like power rankings.
Yeah, these are more power rankings of people that, can take over the game and who we also really fuck with. But with Denzel Curry, I mean, like I said, I think he's 26 years old, and to have a discography at the level that he does at his age is super impressive. And I feel like he's really carrying that Miami SoundCloud kind of style on his back. And he's truly, one of, if not the most versatile artists in the game right now.
What type of genre would you attribute to his sound? Because there's so many different lanes that he bags into. And I was actually planning on putting Denzel Curry in my top 3, but I was like, fuck it, since I'm not including Logic or anyone else in here, I wasn't going to put him. But
yeah, because you could say that Denzel maybe already, reached his prime with Taboo. But at the same time, I mean, after Unlocked...
the age indicates something else too.
Yeah.
But why do you think it's either a love it or hate it situation with Denzel's music? And I'm going to ask you a second question on top of that. As a Denzel fan, what do what sort of production do you fuck with the most from him? Is it more of his melodic side? Is it more of his, emo screamo sort of side? Like where do you stand with his
Well,
sound?
that's the thing, is that's what I love about him, is that, he can literally rap over any beat. You know what I mean? If it's something that's more 90s New York, like you would get on Unlocked from Kenny Beats on a song like Layup, for example, he'll fucking kill that shit. If it's more trap-oriented stuff from FNZ, who are the producer duo that he works with all the time, I fuck with that too. If it's something that's more soulful, like a beat like you would get on Zenith,
that's what I was just about to mention.
That's amazing also.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about Denzel, is that, he can rap with that screamo rap. He can do, pure hip hop. And to me, what I love about him the most is that he's the most unpredictable artist in the game.
That is true.
I never know. I mean, we could say this about a lot of artists, but I feel like it's super true with Denzel that whenever he releases a project or a song,
you never know what to expect.
You literally don't know what you're getting. He's super unpredictable. And to me, I feel like he has flows like ODB and he has delivery like DMX.
Okay, I get what
He's just a complete package of a rapper. And I mean, what he did on Unlocked was amazing. What he did on Zoo was amazing, where he freestyled the entire album. And
it was much more of a laid back approach more than anything. Like, that's what I liked about it with it. And Zoo, I just feel like gets overlooked by everyone because it obviously wasn't the concept that Taboo was, and everyone was, expecting his next project to be something fucking grand and a masterpiece. But I literally felt like I was living in Florida on that project. It was awesome to listen to and to vibe to. So do you think maybe the whole gripe with Denzel, and especially with fans, is like people don't know what to expect to the point where like they sort of have to hate it because they don't necessarily understand it?
I think for like the average hip hop consumer, it's super hard to get into him and to really, be a hardcore fan of his because...
Well, I'm talking about the community. Let's stick it to the community because obviously, Denzel, I don't think has that mainstream sound to him. There's obviously that underground-esque SoundCloud sound to him. So where do you think that sort of, I would say, love it, hate it situation comes with Denzel's sound?
I mean, for people to hate it, I don't know. I feel like people hate on him a lot because of kind of his come up. People feel like, oh, he's that guy that got famous off of Ultimate, which, started off as a water flipping challenge video where they put his music in the background. So people maybe feel like his fame wasn't deserved, but, he proved everybody wrong in 2016 with Imperial. And I just love that, he came up with that class of Lil Uzi, of Kodak Black, of Lil Yachty, of all of, let's say these mumble rappers or these trap artists. And he could have easily, rode all those trends, but he said, fuck it, I'm doing my own thing. And at this point, I don't find there's any justifiable reason to hate on Denzel.
I don't know. There shouldn't be.
He hasn't put anything out that's been subpar.
There shouldn't be a reason to hate on anything from him. his quality is fantastic, and I do agree with you that when it comes to Denzel, he could have taken a very generic route with his music, but he obviously decided to stay diverse because again,
he has that in him, right? He has that trap
absolutely.
sound, that southern, trap to him, but he doesn't rely on it. You know what I mean?
If you go back to like 32 and 64, very different projects, very different feel to them, almost, very experimental, if I could put it like that. And then you get something like Imperial, where I feel as like it was more of a cohesive project where it was very hip hop influenced, where, it wasn't his most experimental project, but I think it was his most consistent project, in my opinion, as far as like
most concise,
as far as like an aesthetic goes. But then you get this beautiful masterpiece with Taboo, where, we were talking about this on the last project, where on the last episode, where I was like, I think Daytona is.
You thought that like it wasn't worthy to be considered the top 3 of 2018.
I still don't think so.
We're eventually gonna do probably an episode on 2018 because it's such an iconic year, and I'll die on that hill that Taboo is the best album of that year.
Yeah, that's not stress. But listen,
it's a fucking movie, man. It's a movie, and he's tackling topics that no one else is. And like I said, his versatility, his flow switches, the content matter. The 3 acts in the album, spectacular shit.
Then you get something like Zoo, that's all freestyle. That was awesome too. That was a great effort. I love that. And yeah, now you get Unlocked. I think Kenny Beats should be producing the rest of his albums. Like that's
so?
That's just how I feel about it. Like I love Kenny Beats Productions, and I don't think there's a talented producer and a talented artists like both of them.
They're a great fucking duo.
They are a great duo, and they're such a dynamic duo. But let's get on to our top 3. This is interesting now.
Who do you have at number 3, man?
Now I have Lil Baby. This is where I was gonna put Lil Baby.
Fair enough.
The reason why I didn't want to put him too low is because of the maybe like how big of an impact he had, and I feel as if like that enough is deserving of the top 3 spot for me.
Are you excited for Lamborghini Boys?
More of his Dirk collaboration. That's more like what I'm down for.
I think that's to me the name of their collab album.
I think Lamborghini Boys was with with
Gunna.
I think it's with Gunna because I don't.
Could you check that up, Nick?
Yeah, would you be able to just check that? Yeah, I don't think it's Lamborghini Boys is a project with his artist.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was his collab with Lil Durk.
No, Lil Durk. I don't think it got disclosed yet, but I know they've been doing a ton of teasing with it. So
I could be wrong.
I'm more down with that, but Lil Baby is just. I wouldn't even say he's my fucking personal favorite, but it's just something about him. Like I have so much respect for what he's doing and just how he's been able to like really put out quality music, especially to the younger generation. Cause, going up, like we came up with let's say like, Migos or Travis Scott, like we were actually blessed to have bangers and see bangers go down. And I think more than ever nowadays, like that hallway to get fucking bangers is getting shorter and shorter and shorter because the lane's just getting too diluted. And Lil Baby is kind of introducing this new flavor and sound that is going completely against what anyone else is doing right now. And taking that into consideration that, he's the face of QC and he's probably the face of the ATL trap scene right now. Like, this guy does not fucking miss.
He doesn't.
Not only that, but since he got his Drake co-sign back in, what, it was 2017, yes, indeed, came out, if I'm not mistaken?
I think 2018.
2017 or 2018. Don't quote me on that. But look what he's done with it. Look what the fuck he's done with it. Like, it's only been uphill from here, and like we're in probably the 3rd year of that cosign, and like it's incredible to see how much he's been able to build with.
Yeah, and even his come up story of Young Thug paying him to be in the studio and Gunna teaching him how to rap.
Crazy.
I mean, it's almost like it was meant to be, and it's something that it was kind of that natural talent that he didn't know he had in him, and now he's literally killing every beat that he's on. At my number 3, though, I have someone who I think is a lot of people's favorite artist right now. I think that, he's maybe the most exciting artist to listen to in the trap scene, and it's Lil Uzi Vert, man. Okay. And this guy just, he literally describes himself as an alien, and that's the best way to describe his place in hip-hop because nobody is doing it like him. When you listen to an Uzi project, if it's the Perfect Love Tape or Love is Rage 2 or Eternal Take, he's sinking you into one of his universes.
Okay, this is the reason why I did not include Uzi on this list.
Okay, tell me. Is it because EA was mid? Is that what it was?
That's exactly it.
Okay, that's fair.
I think he's out of his prime.
You think he's out of his prime?
I think he's out of his prime. I do think so. I'm sorry, I have to say it. I do have to say it. It's definitely not the Perfect Love Tape quality. It's definitely not Love is Rage 2 quality.
Lil Uzi Vert versus the World.
No.
But you can't deny those projects.
No.
Like you can't say that he's out of his prime because of one miss either.
Yeah,
Come on,
but
man.
it was one miss over all that time. The last time he dropped a good project was 2017. That's going to be nearly 4
But
years
you have
now.
to respect him because a lot of people will drop shitty projects and kind of stand by them. But Uzi was really self-aware. He's like, you know what?
Yeah, but
Out of all 32 songs, I'm keeping two.
I know, but
You know what
that's
I
the
mean?
whole
I
point.
fuck with that.
No, but you see, I don't give a fuck because the guy literally admitted that he has horrible music on that project.
Look,
it's not
think
horrible
about how
music.
many leaks that he fucking experienced, man. The
I'm
guy
all-
probably redid that album 3 times.
I know, but dude, if you're putting a fucking album out, it has to be good. Especially like you've been teasing it for that long, and then it comes out, and everyone's like, bro. This is nothing to what we were getting, and that was the whole promise with Eternal Will Take was it was gonna be some fucking grand, fucking treasure chest of beautiful music and a bunch of Uzi melodies, and what you got was a bunch of lazy bars and futuristic productions, and it was like really, it wasn't that it was horrible, but it was just insanely mid.
It was.
You go through the track list, man, and like, why would you even want to go through that fucking album? Like,
No,
let's say
look,
if you find it mid, right, or you find it boring.
We're on the same page that, EA wasn't a good album. Probably the most underwhelming release for me of 2020. I was even, more shocked by that one being not good than Whole Lotta Red. But apart from that, I don't think you can denounce everything that Uzi's done.
No,
and
absolutely
kind of
not.
the lane that he's birthed in hip hop. You know what I
But
mean?
I would definitely right now, like Logic is technically putting out better music than him. Logic would have a place on this list before Uzi.
Yeah,
does
but
for
look
me.
how many shitty projects Logic has.
I know, but we're talking about right now, like what's going on now, like what's
I
recent.
wouldn't compare the two of them either way.
No, but you know what I'm
I
trying
mean?
to. I'm just saying, like, for what they're releasing right now and like the where they're at in their careers, like obviously it's two completely different lanes, two completely different artists. But as of right now, from 2017 to the time I'm fucking recording this podcast, there is like Uzi has not released that great of material, and it's been super disappointing as an Uzi fan.
Regardless, I just feel like, he has one of the most exciting personalities. His ad libs are always great. I love that electronic style production he brings in, the emo rap flavor. And, I just feel like his projects, his mixtapes especially, speak for themselves. And, I mean, there's no one like Uzi in the game. There really isn't anyone that's similar to him. And, I mean, look, you can say what you want about EA, but his projects speak for themselves, man.
Yeah, but if his project speaks for himself, his most recent one was super mid. Like that's what I'm gonna have to leave it at with this. But it's okay though. I do understand the
But
choice.
don't take away some of the great songs he's made, man.
No.
Think
Listen,
about Money Longer. Think about Extra
but
Tour
dude,
Life.
listen, I told
Pretty
you,
Mommy.
I told you, I love those projects. I'm an Uzi fan. I fuck with those
But you
projects.
can't
Prime
tell me
Uzi-
he's out of his prime after just one project that doesn't do
Well,
well.
listen. In comparison to what he was putting out to this point, there's a fucking blatant dip in quality, a major blatant dip in quality, and that's what I call getting out of your prime. But listen, we're gonna go on to our number two because we dragged that on for a bit. But number two is an interesting spot for me because my number one was already solidified. That's what I started off my list with, and two, I originally had Conway there. That was someone that I had.
He's my number two. Yeah.
That was someone I had there. I had Conway at number two, but I'm actually going to put Benny at number two.
Really?
For the sole reason that...
So you switched up your list because you told me at one point that we were gonna have Currency on there, which
I was throwing you some ideas.
I would have loved to have spoken about Currency, man. I love what he's
I
doing.
could speak Currency all day because the reason is that I was going through Currency mixtapes and I was thinking like, fuck, he has such a big place in my listening. I should probably include him on here. But I think there's other people in my personal favor, yes, but just for the sake of this list and just to everything considered, can't really make that cut with it because he puts out too many mixtapes. Let's say some of them don't stick with you, some of them are brighter than others, but
he just puts out pad catalogs. And I just want to say real quick why I love Currency is because if I'm listening to a bunch of hip hop in a full day, let's say, and I want to, let's say, change genre, before I'll change genre, I'll play some Currency. I'll play some Arena. I'll play some, Off Runners. I'll chill out to some Currency because, he just makes that type of music to relax to, man.
What did I send you today? Which mixtapes did I send you today to go listen to? Just so we could tell people to go bump this. It's Spring Clean with Fuse.
Spring Clean?
With 808 Mafia producer.
Okay.
Yeah. What a project. But at my number two, I have Benny the Butcher, and it's for the sole reason that last year my album of the year was Burden of Proof. And if I look at the build up towards that, I mean, it was almost near perfect. You had the first installment of The Plugs I Met. You had Tana Talk 3 before that. And, finishing it full circle in 2020 with Burden of Proof was beautiful because it was the evolution of the mafioso story. So obviously starting with Tana Talk 3, it's more of I feel like more in the story, it's more of a grimy place for Benny the Butcher. It's more of like the street talk. It's more of street imagery where it's very scary. It's very personal. It's more of like the low end barrel of where his story was. Then
it was a trip down memory lane during that coke era in his life.
Exactly. Yeah. Then you get to The Plugs I Met, and it's literally The Plugs I Met. And I feel as if like in the coke story of like, you know, the mafioso persona, that was an upgrade for him where he started dealing with bigger plugs and he started doing bigger things. And, you know, you started to see that the production style started to change out. They got a bit more sophisticated. They got a bit more lighter. And then you get Burden of Proof, and it's like this whole grand project about how, yes, he does enjoy his fame, he does enjoy his money, but there is a huge fucking burden on his soul. And, you know, he kind of takes you through the track list, example, like songs with Famous or, you know, Trade It All, where he's talking some real shit. Like, he got this money, but it's not necessarily making him happy in his career. So, I mean, I've looked at the evolution, and I'm going to talk about The Plugs I Met too right after I let you come in, and I'm just going to say this, like, I think that 3-album run is fucking legendary, especially for the coke scene. Like, what he was able to give as far as quality was fucking amazing, and the consistency that he was carrying with Griselda and being that poster boy for them, absolutely iconic.
Yeah, I don't know if he can top that 3-album run just because of how iconic it is. I mean, you know, he's kicking it on songs with people like Royce da 5'9". He's kicking it with Black Thought on a song like Crown for Kings. And, you know, like you were saying, Benny's evolution has come full circle on Burden of Proof. And it leads me to a point of, like, where else can he go at this point? Because he basically created the Blueprint 2.0 with that album, with those soulful samples from Hit Boy and just, you know...
But Jay-Z did have creative decisions on that project as well.
Yeah, I think he looked it over for him, kind of gave him some good advice on it and shit. But I mean, you know, just seeing how, you know, like you were saying earlier, how he talks about, you know, how the fame and everything he did to get to the fame isn't worth it, and that he would trade it all to get, you know, his brother back and, you know, people that he's lost in the streets, and how, you know, those scars haven't healed and maybe they never will. It was just
emotional.
It was dope to see from someone who has such a tough demeanor and who has to have that demeanor to sell his music, to kind of take a step back and be personal with the music. So what Benny's doing right now is amazing. I feel like he's one of the best lyricists in the game. He's maybe slightly behind Conway.
He is slightly behind Conway.
And The Plugs I Met too was not as good as La Machina.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I think it was because the expectations with Benny's discography are much higher than Conway's, and everyone was expecting The Plugs I Met too to be this, you know, grand project, and especially that Harry Fraud was looking over it and doing the whole production. You know, I did expect more. I did expect to see different things. Like, I think it's called No Instructions. I think that's probably my favorite track on the project.
A lot of people fuck with that song. I find, like, the beat a bit boring, to be honest.
I enjoy it. I find, like, it's a very touching song by him. Like, that's what I like about it too, is like his introspective writing. Like, that's something I mention a lot when I talk about artists, is like, if you can make me dive into your mind and I understand these ideologies from your standpoint and you're dumbing it down so I understand it, it's an automatic win for me. And I think that the track list as a whole was a lot less memorable than the first Plugs I Met, the first installment, and the feature list spoke it right away. Like, I knew once we were getting that French Montana feature, the Fat Joe feature was cool, but it was kind of like, okay, I would rather just have like Black Thought on here again, or, you know, another Royce da 5'9" feature. That's where
Plug Talk was hard though. Plug Talk was nice on it,
but I mean, it was good, but
it didn't add anything to Benny's discog. I think that's the issue. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, okay, it's cool, but I feel as if it was a step down from the first one.
Yeah.
And it was a step down from Burden of Proof, and that was kind of disappointing to me as a Benny fan, but I was okay with it because it was still quality nonetheless.
Number 2 for me, I have another Griselda guy. We just spoke about him before. Call Me the Machine. And I mean, what else can I say about this guy? He's literally, you know, killing every beat, literally murdering every production that he touches. And Eminem doesn't sign just anybody. You know what I mean? If you look at, you know, the roster for Shady Records, I think as it stands right now, all you have is West Side Boogie, West Side Gun, who's actually out of his deal because West Side Gun and Conway both signed a 1-album deal with Shady Records. So West Side Gun's out, and now Conway's going to be out after he drops God Don't Make Mistakes. But for Eminem to see talent in you and to, you know, appreciate your work, for the Wu-Tang Clan to appreciate your artistry, that says a lot, man.
It does.
And even if you look at his feature run, he's had one of the best feature runs in the last couple of years. If you look at Fubu off of Royce the 5'9's The Allegory, if you look at Babies and Fools off of Alfredo, if you look at The Cow from West Side Gun, he's been killing every feature. Warpaint, yes sir,
exactly. Warpaint
fucking
was
been ripping it apart.
Warpaint was crazy.
Like he'll literally steal your song.
Was crazy.
He should be someone that artists choose not to feature with because you might get bodied.
That is true.
That's what it is.
And that's why I was saying, like, he's probably one of the best lyricists out there right now, if not the best. Like, the type of work he's putting out is, like, incredible. And it always raises the question, this guy, I think, is going to have the most longevity out of all of them, to be honest with you. Because, like, he obviously doesn't make, like, these super grand albums, like, let's say, West Side Gun or Benny does, but, like, every verse is quality. Literally every single fucking verse with him is quality, and somehow he always has this different story or this different moral to preach. And that's what I like about him too, is that it's not necessarily all coke stories, it's not necessarily all storytelling. It's really focused on his mindset and like his life perspective,
his ambitions too. And I just feel like you'll get more storytelling and, let's say, introspection from song to song, but the album won't always feel as cohesive as it could be. But I'm excited to see what he has in the future. At number one, though, I think we have the same artist.
Yeah. Mr. Freddie Gibbs.
Half main, half cocaine, man.
Mr. Freddie Gibbs. He's been getting a lot of stick on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw a lot of controversy.
Yeah, a lot of controversy around this name. So we'll just ignore all that and we'll go on straight to the music. His music's fucking phenomenal. One of the first pointers that I'd written down with Freddie Gibbs was like, I don't think there's anyone as consistent as him in the game right now. The fact that his past 3 releases have been Alfredo, Bandana, and Fetty is fucking incredible.
3 album of the year contenders, if not album of the year of those years in a row. And he's just getting a lot of light now because of that Grammy nomination, which, in my opinion, he should have won Best Rap Album of 2020.
Alfredo's going to be a future classic, man. Mark my fucking words.
It's better than King's Disease to me.
It is.
I mean, obviously Nas deserved the Grammy because he was snubbed all those years, but to me, what it is with Freddie, and obviously it comes with working with the likes of Madlib and The Alchemist, but he's probably the best beat picker around right now.
It is. He is.
Even if you look at Freddie from 2018, where you had Kenny Beats doing most of the production, every beat fucking slaps, and that was more like trap production. And I just love the way that man stays locked into a flow and will not leave. He will not tither away from it. Once he's locked into that flow, it's over.
Yeah, and it never feels like it's overused with it. And that's another great thing about his stuff is like there's his aggressive flow and his aggressive delivery mixed in with how quick he's able to rap and how he's able to tie in these beautiful stories with this, cinematic Alchemist or Madlib production. Incredible, dude.
It's amazing.
And fucking incredible. And like that's what I like about it. It's just it's a different vibe with him because there's no one putting out the quality of projects that he is. It's just that simple. Like, even go back to Piñata in 2014. That's another album of the year contender.
Classic album.
Like, we're seeing how his discography is aging and, what type of production he's starting to get into and what type of collaborators he's starting to get with.
Not only that, but forget about how his discography is aging, how he's aging as a rapper. Like, he's aging like a fucking fine wine, and I feel like his rapping improves and just becomes greater on every single album. And now we're having talks of a new album, which is SSS, which is supposed to feature the likes of production from The Alchemist, from Madlib, from Sven Thomas, from Hit Boy, from Mike Will Made It. I mean, this is interesting because he's dominated that lane of the rapper-producer collab album where he shreds every beat. He knows which production caters his sound best. But now, are you worried that he's working with this variety of producers?
No. Especially with the type of quality that he said he's going to give us. Alone, just a Pharrell placement on there, like, wow. Congratulations, Mr. Freddie Gibbs. Like, that's
another Pusha T feature expected too.
That's massive as well. But I love the whole vibe he's going with. Like, Freddie just doesn't Freddie knows his sound, and Freddie will carry that into every single one of his fucking projects and just utilize it in a different way, if that makes sense to you, because In comparison, if you go back to his projects, like put Bandana in perspective with Alfredo, obviously it's two different producers, but the way Freddie raps on those two albums are completely different, in my opinion. And the types of tracks we got were very different than what we got. An example, like take like God is Perfect in comparison to like something like Situations, you know. Two very different types of Freddie Gibbs songs, but still hold that same demeanor to his sound and still communicate his sound perfectly. What other two songs could we put next to each other? Let's say from Bandana, I would take
Giannis?
I was thinking Giannis. I was maybe even thinking
Education, Palm Olive.
Education's up there. Okay, let's say Palm Olive. Okay, what would be the biggest standout track on Alfredo for you?
Biggest standout for me, it's probably Babies and Fools with Conway.
Babies and Fools. Okay, Palm Olive and Babies and Fools, because there are both features on those songs. Two completely different tracks, yet speak so fucking great to what Freddie Gibbs is trying to do. Like
on Palm Olive, you know, he's talking about how his neighborhood was like similar to a war zone, and then on a song like Babies and Fools, he's talking about like taking care of his children and like, you know, his future ambitions and that sort of shit. So,
but also think about the changes in tempo. Like you look at something like Palm Olive, it's very grand, like it gets your energy up, and something like, you know, Babies and Fools, like it's very low and very calm, very wavy. I feel like I'm, you know, in an old fucking car in Florida, like you know, like taking in the breeze, and then
different content matter, different vibes, 100%.
And that Conway verse on that song was fantastic. Like one thing I really took away from that song was just like, you know, he was talking about how he feels responsible that his son is failing math. Yeah, and how he feels like he could do more as a father. But that's the sort of content matter that I love on a Freddie project, because it's always personal to the point where you could relate back to it. I'm not a father or anything, but you know, there's certain messages in that writing that's like, fuck. Okay,
not only that, but I feel like, you know, for me to really fuck with a rapper, I have to buy into their personalities, and I totally buy into Freddie's. I mean, the guy's hilarious, and he really stands up to being kind of that gangster Gibbs personality at the end of the day. You know
like
what
the
I mean?
supervillain within the whole industry and whatever.
The guy who gives no fucks, you could say.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm not going to comment on the type of shit that he tweets and whatever it is. Like, I don't really keep up with that sort of stuff. I'm being honest with you. I don't care. Yeah. I'm such a fan of his projects because I understand what he does online is completely different than what his actual music speaks. And I feel as if that's just to entertain the mainstream, and like what he really does in his music is, you know, strictly for, you know, the music fans. Strictly just something like, whoa, okay, it's going to be fucking crazy. So, you know, do you feel like when you go into a Freddie project, there's a different standard every time you go in, or like, what do you feel when you go into one?
Look, at this point, I mean, after all these fucking potential classics that he's dropping, there's a certain standard, you know, of quality that you come to expect.
Okay, so what's that standard? That
standard is, you know, like I said, some of the best flows you'll hear. Of course, the production's going to be amazing, as it always is. And I just expect a really focused track list, and another thing I expect too is for it to have no misses.
Okay.
You can never have a skip on, you know, these modern Freddie Gibbs projects. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. And the track sequencing is fucking crazy too, eh? Do you ever, like, I go through Bandana, I'm like, whoa, okay, this low-key makes super duper sense. And you know, despite what this new project is going to sound like, because it's going to be very, probably very different than what we got with the solo projects, just because you obviously have so many different credits and producing credits on that. One thing I do want to see is Montana. I think that's what I'm the most excited for.
You need to close off the fucking trilogy, man.
I can't fucking wait for that. Like, because I don't want it to be another 5-year situation. Like, that would fucking suck. I'd be in my mid-20s by the time I hear that album. So just thinking about that kind of scares me. But
that would also be the perfect way for Freddie to retire, if that's in his plans. I don't know if it is.
Imagine Freddie fucking Gibbs retires with Montana, and it's one of the craziest albums of all time. That could possibly go down. But I don't think so, because he's still young. He still has a lot of time. You'd like think about what other people are doing in the industry right now. Like, let's say Pusha T, or, you know, Hove, JLEC, Black Thought. Like, there's room for.
There's no limit, yeah.
There's no limit for this, because the music is timeless, you know, and their fan bases are so dedicated. So, what makes you a dedicated Freddie Gibbs fan at this point?
It's the quality, man. It's the quality in projects. You know what I mean? There's always so much to take out of it from song to song, and I mean, look, he's simply one of the best rappers out right now.
That is true. That is definitely true. What I take out of it is every time I'm going to go in, I know what I'm gonna get is the top of the kettle. Like it's just doesn't even make sense. Like I'm telling you, like anyone you introduce to Freddie Gibbs will be automatically attracted to his music, and something will reach the rotation. So just before we actually close this off, because we ended up going through our whole list, how do you feel the landscape is gonna shape up for artists as a whole, especially within 2021, where now we're hearing new artists are dropping. Like, where do you feel this is all going?
I feel like, we're getting a resurgence of lyrical hip hop to some degree. I mean, you're getting people from, let's say, Griselda who are actually charting on Billboard for a change. Not in the top 10 or anything, but they're on the charts. So that's good to see. Freddie Gibbs is becoming more mainstream. He's getting that industry love. He's getting, people like Sway Lee to collaborate with him, with like Lil Yachty to collaborate with him, which...
You see the Diddy co-sign too?
There was a Diddy co-sign?
There
for
was
real?
a Diddy co-sign.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
that was fucking cool too. There was a Diddy
So yeah,
co-sign.
he's getting the love he deserves. I mean, you have guys like Jid and Corday that are on there, so it's awesome, man.
I would love to see those sort of collaborations. But guys, listen, I think we're gonna end this here. And this was a super interesting episode because, we're always trying to do cool shit and we're always trying to bring you guys new information. But leave this down in the comment section what your top 5 would be right now. As you know, we always try to get to everyone and try to talk with you guys. Not only that, guys, but hit the subscribe button, hit the notification tab. We're connecting the world to hip hop. I like that line. I fucking love that branding. Thank you guys for watching the whole video. Hit that subscribe button to join the family. We're doing weekly reviews. We're giving you guys all the updates in the industry. Plus, we have our series called What to Expect, where we actually take you through the album before it drops. Plus, if you guys want to chat with us, you guys could join our Discord server. The link is in the bio. You guys could talk hip hop with us there. Thank you guys for watching again. And guys, I'll see you on the next one.